Monday, everybody. All fancy again today. And welcome to the latest, greatest addition to the OH.Report video podcast. My name is Brian, and up for discussion on today's show, here's what we got. Coaching at the high school level. How important is it really? Would high school hoops benefit from having a shot clock? We'll also make some picks for some high school hoops conferences for the boys in and around our area, discuss NFL overtime, and oh, so much more. So it's me. Let's also meet the crew, including Travis Berardi. Yeah, he's from West Virginia, and he lets you know it almost every episode. What's up, man?
I look like I have a Christmas perm today. You like this?
He really does.
Like this over here? Yeah.
Kind of, those bulbs actually look kind of good on top of your head. You might
Very
stick with
festive
that.
today. Very festive. Like it.
This next gentleman has a college education, but you might not know it from hearing him talk. How about Hayden Gray? What's up?
Not much. He's right. I do have an education, but yeah, putting it to use, that is questionable sometimes.
Our next guy dropped out of college, and you probably could have guessed that. Storm Blunchley, what's up, baby?
Nothing much. I take pride in it, though.
And then right next to him, Storm's #1 compadre, voted most likely to finish his whole lunch entree in high school. Garrett Parlett.
Bosco
I
sticks.
finished every entree, I'm pretty sure. And no bones left on the plate for me.
And chicken bowl.
So that's just continued for life.
Oh,
Nothing
yeah.
changes there. All right, G-Man, go ahead and let's kick us off with a great debate. Offense versus defense.
Yeah, I was thinking, last night for the podcast, getting a rundown ready. In high school basketball, which do you guys think is more important to have in your back pocket? Would you rather have a better defense or a better offense? I'll start us off. I think having a better offense will go a lot longer than a defense will in basketball, and here's why. I definitely think defense is very valuable, don't get me wrong, but if I have the best scorer on my team, I think he can go up against any defender, however good your defense is, because I don't think you're going to be able to shut him down for 4 straight quarters. So I think once he gets the offense going, he's going to be hard to stop. So I would go, as long as you got a good offense, you got a shot in almost every single game, but I'll throw it over to Travis and see what he's got to say.
I'm going to say defense unless you have a man named John Diebler on your team that helps you average as a team over 100 points a game, because that guy could shoot the basketball. But any other time, I think defense, if you can play a good defensive game, keep your opponents to maybe 35 to 50 points, you may be able to do it with a couple guys that average maybe 8 to 10 points a game. So I think it's the opposite. If you play a good defensive game, it opens up even for the teams that don't really have a great offense or that one dynamic scorer. Ski, what do you think?
Well, I think the defense wins championships, as the old cliche goes, but offense wins over the crowd, wins over the ladies, and I'm all about being a crowd pleaser. So I like the offense more, and I just feel like there's too many 3-and-D guys these days where defenses, I feel like, are a little bit ahead of offenses. We don't have very many dudes in and around the area that can not only shoot, but they can drive and they can score at the bucket. So if you do have those type of players and you've got a flat-out awesome offense, I'm all with G-Man. I think it's a lot harder to stop than a good defensive team, because what always beats a good defense? Better offense. So I'm with the O, Hayden Gray.
Yeah, when I saw this question, at first I thought it was going to be simple, but it was tough. It was a tough choice. I'm going to say defense, and I'm simply saying that because of some of the basketball I've seen the last week. Turnovers have been a massive part of the game. So when you're on defense, if you can create turnovers, even with some of the highest powered offenses, it's got to slow them down. So you do have to make it happen on the offensive end, but turnovers on the defensive side have just been such a huge impact. I couldn't look the other way. Storm, how about you?
I'm going to go with defense. I don't know. It's just something about the mental game, I think, a lot for me. Like, when you have an offensive superstar and he starts not seeing a shot going as much, I think it can really get into his head. Then it can get into the team's head like, oh, my gosh, if our first offense or if our first choice on offense can't score, what are we going to do? What are the rest of us going to do? So I really do think it kind of is a defensive battle in high school.
And we'd like to hear from you, the audience, as well. So if you're out there watching on the YouTubes or the Facebook, drop us a comment. Let us know where you stand on this side of the opposition. Is it offense that matters most, or are you a defensive type of person? All right, G-Man, give me the scoop on some great races that we have going on here in the area for some boys hoops. What do you want to know?
Well, the last question we just posed was really what brought me to this, because we've seen a couple of defensive battles on Saturday night and Friday evening. We've seen East Knox pick up a big win at Northmore as a low-scoring game, as well as Western beating Crestview. So I posed the question for the 3 smaller conferences in the area that we cover, KMAC, Firelands, and then the N10, which would be your conference pick? I start us off. I've seen East Knox a couple more times than Centerburg. Obviously, I haven't seen the Trojans this year, so Right now, I'm going to go with East Knox, but I do think that the Trojans have a really good shot to win. It's still undefeated. They beat Northmore a couple of days ago, did East Knox, and I like their squad. And definitely Shane Knapp, he can get it down on the hardwood too, not just the gridiron. And in the Firelands Conference, it's hard not to pick the Cougars, the old alumni, but I got to go with Western Reserve. I think they're too well coached. They're too good defensively, and I think they just shut down Crestview a couple nights ago. They couldn't do anything offensively. They had a few good runs, but nothing really that put Western Reserve in a spot to lose that game. And then I think in the N10, I think it's Colonel Crawford's conference to lose. They've been doing this for multiple years under Coach Sheldon. He's got that culture. They're ready to go win another title, and I really don't see anybody else competing for that. How about you, Brian?
No one's going to get in their way, let's be honest. They went 22-0 last year, ran roughshod through the N10, and they're still undefeated this season. And with the two guys that they got back with Carter Valentine and Mason Studer, it's probably the best 1-2 combo that we have of any big or small team in all of the area. They just play so well together. And how about a 6'7" shooting guard, Carter Valentine? He's a stud, man. He might be the best player that we have overall here in the area. In the Firelands Conference, I love how you said it's hard for you not to pick the Cougars, but not because of their ability to beat the other good teams. It's just because you went there, I think. There are a lot of good schools in the Firelands this year, actually. I think this might be the best race that we have. You look at Monroeville, I believe, is still undefeated. Yep. Western Reserve, though, probably going to be my pick. Chris Sheldon's been there for, over 2 decades, and they've been doing a lot of winning lately. They got a bunch of guys back from the team that made it all the way to the regional round, so I'm a big fan of Western Reserve. That would be my pick for the Firelands Conference. And in the KMAC, Centerburg's got everyone back except for Carter Jones, and I know he's the 2-time defending player of the year in the league, but when you bring back 11 of your 12 guys on varsity, things are going to go well. That's why they've been able to beat Mount Vernon, a big school. Worthington Christian took care of them. They crushed Mount Gilead and Cardington Lincoln in their first 2 league games this far. So I haven't got to see the Bulldogs yet. I did watch live and free when you guys were on the call, and I like what we've seen from them. I know that Hayden here is a big fan of Shane Knapp, so he could be the premier player this year in the conference, but I think Centerburg, the Trojans, the premier team.
Yeah, Brian, as you said, I really like what Shane Knapp and the Bulldogs got going on right now. I do think out of these 3 that the KMAC would be the most competitive open of the 3 conferences. As not a shocker, Firelands, I'm also going to say Western Reserve, who I saw play on Saturday, did a really nice job against Crestview. And in the N10, I haven't seen Colonel Crawford in person yet, but I did watch our stream when they played Northmore, and there's not a lot of slowing them down. So I'm going to take Colonel Crawford in the N10. But, yeah, the KMAC, I think that's going to be one of our closest ones to watch. When you can return all those guys, as you just mentioned, for Centerburg, that is a big relief for a coach as well. So you could even throw out some sleeper teams in a KMAC, like Northmore played East Knox competitively. So I think it's a pretty open race, but my preference right now is East Knox.
Yeah, I have to agree with you guys, I think, a lot. But I don't know. I kind of see the East Knox giving Centerburg a run for their money there in the KMAC. I do agree with you, Hayden. Well, I do kind of agree with you. I think the Firelands and the KMAC are both very competitive this year. I think it's going to be a more interesting race between Centerburg and East Knox, just those 2 teams. But in the Firelands, I think it might be anyone's race so far this year. But, I'm going to have to go with Crestview, I think. I think they got a lot of good guys. I think John Kurtz is an excellent coach, only in his sophomore season. He's really turned that ship around. He's really brought in a winning culture for them. And, of course, for the N10, it's got to be Colonel Crawford. I mean, they're just always – it's one of those schools that's just always good. They're always going to beat you. And I don't think it's going to be any different this year.
David Sheldon is so good at what he does, but behind the scenes and at practices, I love watching him run his team, and that's why Colonel Crawford's in the position that they are right now, and it's from the young Eagles all the way up. He's really got that thing rocking and rolling. Nobody's got any love for South Central? I believe they're still undefeated. They got the Blair kid, just went off for a career high the other night. No one's a believer in the Trojans?
Well, in the Firelands, I think we'll have to see if South Central can hold on against the teams like Crestview and Western Reserve. But Western Reserve really impressed me on Saturday.
They're pretty good.
Against the Cougars. Coach Sheldon, Chris Sheldon, does the same thing like his brother at Colonel Crawford, just a really good coach. He lost 2 of his top scorers and has a couple guys stepping up and filling in those positions because of good coaching. We'll get into that later. We have a question about that. But I think Western Reserve, it's theirs to win in the Firelands. KMAC, it's going to come down to the winner of Centerburg East Knox. I think whoever gets that first game is going to have the upper hand and an easier path. Centerburg does take on Northmore. It's going to be more of a feeler game for Northmore than it is for Centerburg to see how good the Golden Knights are after last year. And then in the Northern 10, I have Colonel Crawford. But But I do pose a question to you. You said that Studer and Valentine are the best guards.
Yep.
If they go 2-on-2 against Denbo and Sturi, who wins?
Oh, we need to get that pay-per-view right here on the OH Report. That would be an awesome 2-on-2 matchup.
Good players in Ashland, too.
But if I had to pick half-court 2-on-2, it's a little bit different than the full game. See, I
Not
think
like
that
dunk ball, but 2-on-2
I think
half-court.
that the combo that Ashland has, they might be better in the 5-on-5. But if you're talking a 2-on-2 game, I'm going the Colonel Crawford boys to win that. Just too much length, and they've just been playing with each other for too long.
It'd be a fun one to watch, though.
Definitely, yeah. Sign me up for that one. One thing that definitely all of these teams that we're conversating about all have in common, how about great coaching? We really do have some excellent coaches in this area, but how important is it really at the high school level, Storm?
At the high school level, I'd say it's pretty much everything. I mean, just look at Crestview, for example. I know I was just talking about them, but John Kurtz comes in and they start winning. I mean, wow. And he's an experienced head coach. He's got a lot of winning, a lot of experience under his belt. So, at the high school level, I think especially when you have all that raw talent, coaching is more or less everything. Garrett, what do you think?
I think coaching in high school is probably almost to the tip of its peak because you not only have the coach on the floor, but you have to set a culture, and not only in the school but in the classroom. And these guys are 16, 17-year-old kids. They're not fully mature yet. You got to be able to control them and make sure everything is honed in. And you got to create special bonds. Players want to play for a coach who cares and is at practices. Sometimes you can lighten it up, and then sometimes you got to be intense and be fierce. But it's finding that good balance. And I think the better programs in the area, or the reason they're like that, is due to the coaching ability, like a David Sheldon.
And to have a successful program, it kind of all starts with your workouts, though, and your routines, like outside of the games and outside of the actual season. Then you can identify your personnel strengths, your weaknesses, and you can take it from there. And that's what I think the best coaches in this area have really done an amazing job of doing, is that they have the little bitty kids that are invested in the program, and during the summer they have them come into the camps, and then they grow them and they tailor them to the type of player, to their style, and then they mold them in the way that they need to be. As far as in-game adjustments go, though, I don't know at the high school level, unless it's a big game, two good coaches going head to head, that it's really that important. I think that it's more what Garrett was saying, like you got to be a coach that the players want to buy into, and at the practices, during the summer workouts, during the weightlifting sessions, you just have to buy all in and take what they're saying to the bank, and from there on game night it should translate. But as far as the in-game decisions, I don't know that there's a crazy amount of value until you get like deep into the tournament and it's two great coaches, with the chess moves going back and forth.
I have to say, great coaching, it equals wins. If you have a great coach on your squad, they can make good players into great players. They can make great players into elite players just by the way they coach and bring up a squad. Also, a good coach can really turn around the dynamic of a program. Look at Javar Hudgens, as you saw in the video earlier. He brought that Mansfield senior girls squad that hadn't won a sectional championship in a decade, and in his second season gave them the sectional championship. He turned it around immediately just with what he brings, not only in the regular season, the off season. He cares for his players, and you can see that all over the area. I mean, look at Joe Baylog, just recently retired. Almost 600 wins. Speaking of Joe, we got a spot color commentary. If you want to do some games here at the OH Report, you're welcome to do any game that you want. So, shout out to you, Coach. But you have the great coaches. You have the Sheldons here. You have Coach Baylog. A lot of wins, but they bring just that dynamic to the program, that winning is everything, and it goes on to the players, and it just stays that way, and they get 100% out of it. If you can get 100% out of your players by the way you coach, you're going to be good.
And I'd say, at first I did think about this one as more just in-game, and that way I said it's 50-50. While that might be cliche, I think that, the coach has to get them prepared and create the game plan, but the players have to execute that, and so it's kind of a 50-50 balance. If you take that outside of it and as a program as a whole, I think it still applies, though, when I was thinking about it. As a player, you have to buy into what the coach wants to do with your program and change that. And so the coach can only do so much. He has to get players that buy in and do that. And then and vice versa, he has to believe in what he has and that, or he or she has, and what they want to do with the people that they have. So I think it's a 50-50 split.
And as sports continue to evolve here in these modern times, some say that it's time for the shot clock to be implemented into the high school game, Hayden.
Yeah, this is one that I was kind of reminded of, and came to my head on Saturday. Travis and I were over at Western Reserve and Crestview doubleheader, and something that you notice is on a certain part of the court, you can take the ball up and stand in that area, and you can basically just hold the ball at your waist, and you're not going to be called for anything. Now, the defenders can still come up, but I've seen it as much as just 30 seconds, or I've seen someone hold the ball for 4 minutes of a quarter. And so when I see that kind of thing, it reminds me, do I think a shot clock would be successful in high school basketball? Personally, I'll keep it short. I'm definitely for it. Whether that's 24 or 30, we'll leave that for another day. But I'd be for an idea of it or some experimentation. Let's kick it over to you, G. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm definitely for it too, and I think a big reason would be the offense would be so much more fast-paced. There'd be a lot more scoring, or at least missed baskets or attempts. So I think it'd be a lot more fast-paced, and there wouldn't be a stalling. I typically see when teams get up in a big lead, they just go and just dribble the ball past the half court, and then they stop. And if the defender doesn't come up, they're not going to do anything. They're just going to sit there and watch. So I think I'm definitely for it. I don't know which mark you would put it at. I think 35 seconds. I think 24 is a little too low for high school basketball. So I think 35, maybe 40 seconds would be a better shot clock, but I think you definitely have to implement one here soon.
I agree. I think personally across the board, I think the shot clock should be 24 seconds for everything, college, high school, professional. But that's just because I like scoring. I like high-octane offense. And I just think that if you can do something to increase the pace of the game and make it more exciting, that equals more ticket sales, more butts in seats, more concession stand sales, things like that. I don't know. I just think it would make the game more exciting, and don't we all just want a better product?
I think we do. I think you're misguided, though. I don't think it would be a better product to have a 24-second shot clock in the high school level. That's the pros that you're talking about that can get by with doing that. The best of the best in the entire world. I've seen a couple of teams this year, if they only had 24 seconds to shoot, they're not able or capable to play up at that speed. And I think it's really rare, actually, to see stall ball. And I think part of the beauty of the high school game is that it's the teams that are disciplined, that they get rewarded running through their offense. If you can do a full minute set, if you can take 90 seconds off the clock and then end with a basket, I just think there's something kind of charming about that, about the high school level. And for a lot of these teams that aren't that skilled, speeding them up it's going to be tough. I think especially for some of the girls programs. So I maybe 35-second shot clock I might be okay with. 24 way too fast for me. I think even 30. I'm just cool with it being the way that it is. And hey, if you don't like it, stop it.
I'm against it for this reason. Play defense. If they're going to stall, get up in their face. Get that 5-second count. Play good man-to-man defense. Force the turnover. Force them to make a play. That's it. That's why I'm against it. Makes you play defense.
Okay. Well, a team that needed every second in double overtime just a couple of nights ago in New Philadelphia. How about the Lexington Minutemen? I understand that they've been catching your eye lately, Travis.
Yeah, they were one of my teams to look for in the OCC, but behind Ashland, Worcester, and Mansfield Senior. Then you and I, Brian, with our own eyes, live and free, watched Lexington come back from multiple double-digit deficits to knock off the Arrows at Arrow Arena, a tough place to play, and then they go on and defeat. They hold off a tough Madison squad. Madison squad that's up and coming this year. Impressive team. They hold them off at home, and then they go that hour-and-a-half drive to New Philadelphia and hit the double overtime buzzer beater. This is a team that's on the up and up, and I think they've caught the attention of people in the OCC, and I think they're one of the front runners. And we'll see this week when they take on Mansfield Senior if they can continue to do that. But them and Mount Vernon, and then you want to see West Holmes as well because they haven't played yet, but they're the only two teams, them and Mount Vernon, without a conference loss already. So they're looking pretty. What do you think,
Brian? It, but didn't I tell you guys that Lexington was going to be pretty good? I feel like I kind of saw this coming just because you look at all the size and the length that they have. And that Hudson Moore kid, how versatile is he? He's the one who hit the buzzer. It wasn't a buzzer beater. I think he hit with a couple seconds left to beat the Quakers on the road. He's awesome. They got this 6'7" sophomore that flies through the air and can dunk all over you, and Elijah Hudson. And then they got another 6'7" kid in the middle and Baden Forup. And he's kind of a tough cover because he's a strong player. He's a little bit wiry, but he plays a lot stronger than his physical build looks like. And then they bring the soccer guys off the bench, the Depperschmidt kids, both of them. They bring something unique to the game. Gage Potter. They just all have a good feel for one another. So I think that they've been a little bit better than advertised. I think that they might be the front runner in the OCC. I can't wait to see them clash with the Tigers here in a couple of days. You guys think they're going to beat them?
I don't know. That's a tough call, but I do like Lexington's chance. Just like how you were saying, their length is really what's key. They just have so much more size. They can go up and grab rebounds over you. They can dunk all over you. And, when they need to, they can pull it out and hit an outside shot. So Lexington, I personally didn't believe them at the beginning of the year, but they're the real deal.
I think they've shown a lot with that win over Ashland, one of the top dogs in the OCC, but I think it's too early for me to jump on the fence yet. I'm there. I'm about to jump over it, but I think they got to beat a big dog in Mansfield Senior before I'm fully in. I mean, they got the foot in the door with the win over Ashland and a couple big wins, as you guys mentioned, but I can't say they're the front runner until they at least beat Mansfield Senior.
So G-Man's got 1 foot up on the fence, but he's not ready to commit and jump over on the other side until they beat one of the big dogs. Actually, some big cats, really, it would be in the TY Tigers, Hayden. Where do you fall on Lexington being the premier team in the league?
I agree with Garrett. I'm on the fence, but I'm not over it yet. I'm very, very interested. I think it's going to be a great game against Mansfield Senior, which will tell us who is at the top right now. I think it's going to be a very physical game and come down to the final quarter. Personally, I'm just going to be transparent. I don't think Lexington's ready to beat Mansfield Senior yet, but we will see this week, and they can prove me wrong. And the only reason I say that is because their game earlier, and it was very early, and we all have those nights, but when Lexington played Clear Fork that we live streamed, there was a very, very ugly couple quarters in that game where I was not impressed by either team. So right now, though, they've beat who they need to beat. They're undefeated, so I'm very excited, and I'm on the fence. They've caught my eye for sure.
Okay. That's fair. Actually, for me, I'm in the exact same position that you guys are on Lexington. I think for Mansfield Senior, I want to see a little bit more from them. Let's see if they're actually going to be a good team this year. After last year, only a couple of wins. I know it was a weird one. You kind of throw that out the window. Love the coach, Marquis Sykes, and his crew. Fantastic. I like the players, too. But I want to see if they're going to be able to know what it takes in winning time and be able to capture some W's. Well, the Christmas season is upon us, Hayden, which means, giving some gifts and sometimes wrapping, which comes with its own set of challenges, I understand.
Yeah, so in the spirit of Christmas, I figured something fun for us today would be to talk about what's our worst Christmas gift wrapping or story experience, because personally, I'm terrible at wrapping presents. I enjoy the process of trying to do it myself, but I think everyone who's received a present from me would agree it's not my strong suit. So, I figured I'd let everyone in here kind of go around and share. Travis, let's kick it off with you. What's your worst experience wrapping a present?
Well, it was when I was in college. I was trying to wrap some presents for my family. It was a medium-sized gift, something probably like this. A couple times screwed up, used almost half a roll of wrapping paper. Finally got it. It was 5 different pieces stripped together with tape and everything. It was just, it wasn't good. My family made fun of me on Christmas morning for that too, but it was worth it, I guess.
Boys over there, what's the worst experience you've had getting something ready for Christmas?
Well, I personally still don't wrap my own gifts. My mom wraps mine for me. That shows you how awful I am at wrapping gifts. She just takes away the privilege. I don't even get the opportunity to try anymore. So who knows? Maybe this year I'll get back on the saddle and try it again.
Just use the gift bag.
Gift bag
is
is
what
a
I
good
do.
option.
And the foil paper or whatever inside of it. Maybe that's the way to go this year.
Does your mom still set out your clothes in the morning?
No, why do you think I look like this today?
Actually, looking pretty good.
He does. He does.
Impressive look for Storm
11
today.
out of 10.
Why do you
Even
think
got
I
some
own a
khakis
wool
on.
shirt, I guess?
I don't wrap a lot of gifts either, I guess. I probably would throw it to my mom as well, Storm. And because a big reason is I'm not good with just kind of thinking how much of wrapping paper I'm going to need. And then when I do, I typically am just loading the tape.
Yep.
I got tape everywhere, and it's like trying to rip the wrapping paper open. You just can't get it open. I got to get saws and saw off the wrapping paper because it's so taped together. But yeah, my problem is the tape. Not so much the wrapping paper, but I just tape at every corner and it becomes a hassle to even open the present.
There's a strategy to it. Typically, you get the tape first. You get some few little pieces about this size, and then you lay them off to the side before you get started. So maybe give it another try. Don't go into mom's back pocket and make her wrap the gifts for you guys this year. I think the only bad experience that I can ever remember wrapping a gift, we do a $10 white elephant gift at my grandma's house every single year with the older people. You got to be at least 18 to be able to compete in this. I'm pretty sure I was 18 or 19. It was my first time competing, and my mom has this big thing of wrapping paper where she has all the utensils that you need in there, but Mama was kind of out. All she had in there at this time was a couple of little scraps that you would use to put some names on it. So I had a box and I just had scraps. So I just had to tape a bunch of little scraps on there. I think I had to pull off a piece of a magazine page to put it on there to get it fully covered. So in my first year of the game, I definitely looked like the rookie with the entry. But everybody was intrigued, like, whoa, look at this wrapping paper job. It wasn't good. But yeah, now you know the strategy, boys. Well, Breaking Bad, one of the best shows ever because of how complicated the main character really is. So what's got your brain stewing about Walter White today, Storm?
Well, I watched it all probably last week, all 5 seasons, and it was probably one of the greatest shows I've ever
Binge watcher?
seen.
It's good.
It was incredible. I loved every moment of it, and I can't wait to go back and rewatch it. But something that kept kind of stewing in my mind as the seasons would go on is Walter White really the bad guy? Is he the true villain of the show? And I'm going to say that no, he's not. I still think that despite what he says at the ending, spoiler alert, everyone, he still is not the bad guy, and everything he did for his family. Despite if he liked, cooking meth, which is a bad thing, I will admit, but I think he was doing it for the right reason. So
does a good job.
I think that he really was. It was all. He was trying to do the right thing in his heart.
Making meth straight from the heart, Mom.
Straight from the heart, man. He was trying to leave his kids a legacy. And Garrett, I know that you really haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet.
Yeah, Storm, I have actually never watched it, not one time. I'm not a big TV guy, so can't really give you an answer. I've just seen a lot of memes of him, so I mean, he's got a funny face, if that means anything to you. He's got a Snapchat filter out, so I don't know. I've never watched.
Travis, have you seen the show?
Yeah, I've seen it. Heisenberg. Anyway, I think he starts off as the hero and works his way as the villain. I think it's kind of both. He starts off just, trying to get that money up for hospital bills and for his family, and then he gets really into it and he turns into the guys that he wanted to, take out, and he becomes the main honcho there. He let the meth business take him over, and he becomes the villain at the end. But so from hero to villain.
He takes over the meth business, though, too. It's pretty impressive to watch.
Yeah.
Did you see it unfold on the big screen?
I'm similar to G. I cannot offer any good opinion. I haven't watched it. I've been too hung up on some other series like Money Heist, and Lord only knows when the rest of the Ozarks is going to come out. But I have seen some memes as well. I've heard some things, but not enough to make a good, educated answer. So I'm going to leave that to you, Brian, the final word.
Well, I had lots of people that are important to me keep telling me when the show was actually on, when it was new, fresh episodes, you're missing out, that you're not watching this. And I held off, and I did the same thing the Storm did. I finally got the DVD sets, and I'm like, fine, I'll give it a try. And I watched them all in about a week because the show is that good. And the character transformation from Walter White to Heisenberg maybe is one of the best things that I've ever seen any actor do, the way that he totally transforms his character. Bryan Cranston won a ton of awards, I believe, for that character, because he's really, really good at it. But is he a bad guy? I mean, kind of. He's making meth. He kills my favorite character in the show, Tuco. Mike dies at his hands, I'm pretty sure. I actually looked on the wiki, and it says that he's responsible for over 200 deaths in the show. So that's a lot of bloodshed left in your tread, in your wake there. So Walter White, I got to go with the bad guy, but you do find yourself rooting for him, I think, until the last couple of episodes. And then by that point, you're just like, man, your family really is left in shambles. Was it worth it for what you did to have those couple of good years? I don't know. It's not The Wire, according to my producer, and he's right. I'm watching that right now for the 4th time because, my God, that's the best show. We don't need to get into that, but Stringer Bell, best character. He just died last night in the episode that I watched. I hate season 3.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah, sorry, you guys didn't know. You just didn't make it
go and
through the 5. Okay.
I can never
I
watch
think
The
it came out in
Wire.
2000, guys. So. Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of deaths, should the NFL overtime rules meet their demise? Travis, do you hate it?
So this is something we talked about towards the beginning of the season, but yesterday, 2 big games that had playoff implications came down to overtime. The Cincinnati Bengals go down on their first possession, kick a field goal, but because they kicked the field goal, the Giants able to get the 49ers, wrong team, same city.
Is that LaDainian Tomlinson?
Drove down, old school stuff.
Nice.
49ers drive down, score a touchdown, get the win. Bengals loss helps the Browns and the Steelers and everybody, moves them down. And then in the nightcap, Buccaneers and Bills. Tom Brady, after the Bills kick, Tom Brady goes down the field, scores the touchdown. Buccaneers knock off Bills. Bills drop down, and the playoff situation in the AFC is still crazy. But I believe they should not do this. You kick a field goal on your first possession, the other team can score. If they kick a field goal, you continue. If they score a touchdown, they win. I think it should be kind of like college, but both teams start at the 50-yard line and go down. And if both teams kick a field goal or both teams score, you play on. There's none of that two-point conversion stuff that college ranks have. It's just
So bad.
overtime after overtime. You start at midfield. Whoever scores, whoever has the most points after that one possession, you're the winner. Hayden, what do you think?
Well, I think they should change it, and number one, it's because I'm bitter because the first year they ever changed it to the new one, Tim Tebow ended the Steelers season, and things were looking pretty up that year. But otherwise, I hate this rule because, number one, I think ties shouldn't exist in professional sports. I don't like that idea at all. So I think they should change it, yes. And I think it should be somewhat based on the college model, maybe not the exact same. So we're kind of meeting in the middle somewhere, Travis. But yeah, the college one tends to carry on very long as well. So maybe basing it off the skeleton of that college model. But I would.
Oh, here's Tebow.
Yeah. Thanks,
Oh,
Dad.
Demarius, R.I.P. baby.
Yes, all rest in
Yes,
peace.
rest in peace.
We'll
That was
show
a
respect
shock.
to that clip right there. But yeah, I think it should have some alterations. What about our dynamic duo?
I think it should be changed. Yeah, I personally just think it should just be an extra quarter. I'm pretty sure, is football the only sport where it's not just an extra quarter? I'm pretty sure it is.
It used to be an extra quarter way back in the day. but
Origins.
I think it
What
should.
happens if it's still tied?
You just go into another one, just like
Okay.
because who doesn't want to watch more football? I don't understand. When it's an exciting game and it's down to the wire and no team wins in overtime, I feel like just going to another overtime, another quarter of play would just be even more exciting. So
I like your point, but the networks will never allow it because if you have a game like that, it will run in. Say a 1 o'clock game does that, it'll run over to the 4 o'clock window, and it just screws everything up. The networks will never allow that.
And it's just, the NFL's just too violent. There's too many big dudes going at it. I don't think you can go a full another quarter and then play on top of that until there's a winner. I just think that there's too much at stake for these guys. You get beat up every single week. It's so hard for them just to make it through the season. But I hate ties, so
yeah,
We can all agree on that, I think.
it could be a shorter time. I don't know. I want to watch more football.
I think it's a good idea. Just say the NFL will never allow it just because of rights and the networks owning so much money and putting so much money into the NFL.
Grown men shouldn't tie, though. When you get paid 6 figures. Sorry, G. I just had to
You're good. Yeah, the ties do suck though, but I absolutely love it. I might be the only one on here that I love the way they have it set up because it makes you win the coin toss. You usually always pick to receive the football, and then your defense is backs against the wall. They get paid millions of dollars. You got a chance to stop them. I'm sure almost every team in the NFL, if you get one chance, your defense on the field, mostly everybody's going to say, okay, like we got a shot to win the game. You go down and kick a field goal, and then if you're the offense and you're upset about it, you shouldn't kick the field goal. You should have been better. You should have played a little bit better of a game on offense and on the biggest drive of the game for you. So I absolutely love it, but I do hate the ties. I think the model right now is perfect, and if I'm not sure where they would go with it. I'm not a fan of the college. The games can just ag on, and these guys, if you're playing on Sunday night, you got a game Thursday, your game goes into 6 overtimes, you're beat up, and the turnaround for that is just too quick in the NFL for me. So I think right now, it's the best it's going to get.
I also love it. I think it's kind of perfect. The only maybe tweak that I would see about making is that if the first team comes down and kicks a field goal, maybe you have to go score a touchdown. You know what I mean? That way there is no tie.
Yeah.
But I do really like that you get another opportunity. Just because you're on the bad end of a flipped coin doesn't mean that you should lose the football game, because way too many games were ending with field goals right at the very beginning. And if Justin Tucker range up, if you're playing the Ravens, they just have to get across midfield. That's not fair. So I do really, really like what the NFL has implemented. The college rule with the new 2-point conversions.
That
It's
is
so
just
bad.
terrible.
Oh, my God. When I watched that Penn State game,
Yeah,
it was one of the worst games. They were talking about how you're one of the best. But no.
The longest overtime game in history. No,
It was bad.
That's
It was unwatchable football at the end of that. Nobody wanted to win, but I digress. I like the NFL model, but maybe some tweaks to get less ties. One too many ties. Okay, guys, there's going to be no overtime on our show today. that's going to wrap things up. And we just have one more thing to talk about. And how about what's going on this week? Hey, Tuesday! Mansfield Senior hosting Sandusky. Let me pull up some crews. I'm going to let you guys know who's going to be where. I'm going to be over at Pete Henry Gymnasium to see the Lady Tigers. Can they bounce back? They're off to a really slow start. I had very high hopes for Coach Hudgens and his group, and doesn't mean they can't still accomplish their goals. The regular season, otherwise meaningless. I think that they're just looking to get to that next step in the tournament after a sectional championship, but I want to see more from the Tigers. Fredericktown, East Knox. What do you think, Travis and Hayden and G-Man? Y'all's going to be there. Who do you like in this one?
This is a good game to see if East Knox can continue rolling. They knocked off Northmore in a close one, in a game where Northmore and Fredericktown went into overtime. They played close. Can East Knox handle Fredericktown, remain unbeaten as they get closer to that Centerburg matchup, or can the Freddies pull off the upset after losing a few players due to graduation after their KMAC championship year and maybe turn some heads?
Find out live and free here on the
Darn right.
OH.Report. We're also going to have a highlight, undefeated versus undefeated, Shelby versus Lexington. Storm, this is really the game of the night that you're going to have an opportunity to be at.
Yeah, this one's going to be a lot of fun, I think, and it'll be my first time seeing Lexington in person, and I absolutely cannot wait. A battle of two unbeaten teams, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that.
I think you're going to be impressed. And then the Shelby sophomore, Alex Bruscotter, I've seen some of the highlights. This kid's taking his game to a new level. As a sophomore, he might be in the running for MOAC Player of the Year.
And I think I just saw he got a D2 offer already as a sophomore. So
he's pretty good. He's 6'7", and I think runs like point forward for them.
Yeah.
I haven't got to see Shelby in
nuts.
person. I look forward to seeing that highlight. It's going to be good. All right, what else we got? Well, before we jump to Thursday and talk about the games, Wednesday night we have a very special program that we just filmed earlier today. The Cary football team, the champions, the 5 senior captains, along with their head coach, Jonathan Mersman, all came in today, and we had some fun and games. It was kind of wild in here, boys. 10 games. We ate some crazy things. We built some crazy things.
They wrapped some crazy things.
Some things got broken, so make sure you watch that on Wednesday. But on Thursday, here's what we have going on. How about Lexington versus Mansfield, one of the best rivalries that I think we have in the area. I'm going to be on the call for that one over at Pete Henry Gym. Looking forward to seeing the Lady Lex and how they're going to perform, and do the Tigers have the grit to win some games when they're tight at the end? We expect that one to be a pretty tight one. And then Worcester versus Ashland, a couple of programs that are, I think, near the bottom right now of the OCC, so a win for either of them could go a long way to kind of propelling their season. So G-Man, Storm, got any initial inklings about what you're going to see from the Arrows or the Lady Gents?
I only got to see Ashland versus Shelby, and obviously Shelby ran wild against them. So I think both teams on the downside of things, both teams looking for a win, and someone's got to win. So I guess we'll see who does.
And then we're going to have a girls highlight, the Shelby Lady Whippets. We see them every single game. And Travis, you're going to get an opportunity to catch Coach Lance's bunch over at Highland.
Saw them against Margaretta, pull off the comeback at the big win, and they go in and knock off Bellevue. They look like the front runners in the district, and now they welcome Highland into the MOAC, and I feel I'm sorry for Highland folks. That I don't know. It's going to be quite the sight for Shelby fans. I'm going to say that's the stick right there.
All right, Friday night we've got 3 awesome live and free games. How about Crestview at home against South Central, undefeated South Central? G-Man, Swim, you guys are going to be there, right?
Of course. Yeah, always back in the old alma mater. Love seeing Crestview play. In my opinion, they're one of the most or more exciting teams to watch. Just the way they shoot the basketball and how quick their offense can go. I think it's going to be a fun one.
K-Mac Trav, you're going to be over at the Castle, and the return of Andy Jardy with you.
Yeah, it's a Jardy party down in North Bloomfield Township, but it's the first time I get to see Centerburg this year, Coach Marhefka's group. I'm excited to see them, and I'm excited to see if the Golden Knights have, built up enough defensive prowess over the summer from last year. They played Centerburg tough second half of the season, but can they, build on that and get the big victory against Centerburg? So a big early season test for the Trojans and the Northmore Golden Knights.
And then Mansfield Senior at home against Lexington, my personal favorite boys basketball rivalry in the entire area. I'm going to be sideline reporting. Brian Harder, Greg Collins going to be on the call for that one. We'll have 2 cameras for that. Going to be a fantastic night of basketball. All 3 of those tipping off around 7:30. And then on Saturday, there's more. How about this? We've got myself for the city game, Madison at Mansfield Senior. So I'm seeing a lot of Lady Tigers this week. Coach Hudgens, I'm going to get to hang out with him a lot. Looking forward to that. And then Travis, Storm, you guys are going to get to see Lucas, boys. I don't think we've had him on a live stream yet. And will South Central still be undefeated? Maybe. Could be some fun stuff.
Take it away, Storm.
Take it away, Storm. I feel like you should take this one away, Travis.
Okay. Well, Lucas' squad lost their two leading scorers from last year, but the two Toms boys, they can really shoot the ball. I'm once again excited to see what the Lucas Cubs can do against South Central. It's usually a very good rivalry in the regular season and the tournament, and it could be a very early indicator of who this Lucas Cubs squad can be this season.
And then River Valley supposedly is going to be the team that could potentially push the Lady Whippets this season in the MOAC. You see it happening, G-Man?
I don't know, man. Shelby's a very good team, and they get it done defensively. They press a lot, and they get a lot of steals. They had countless of them against Galleon. River Valley's lone loss was in the conference to Pleasant, and Shelby beat them by 15. So it's going to be an uphill battle, especially at Shelby, but I'm glad I get to see it.
All right, so I lied. So we did have overtime on the show today. Talk about our week ahead. But, hey, no ties here. Everybody's a winner on the OH Report, and lots to digest this week live and free. So tune in. See you guys around.